Well, hello, everybody. My name's Kevin Bowers, and this is episode 2 of Conversations with Creatives. Um, if you're watching this, we're making an assumption that you're a young person who has some inspirations and creativities that are burgeoning up in their guts, and that you might be interested in thinking about how you can turn those creative impulses into a life and into a rich community, into a future that you can be proud of and care deeply about. So I thought, as an educator, that was a wonderful thing to sort of share with young people, and I'm lucky enough to know a bunch of creatives who have done just that and had creative impulses that steered their lives into interesting places. And so that's what we're doing. We're talking to creatives and trying to sort of squeeze out some wisdom from them for young people as they're trying to make choices about, how to do this life thing. Um, and if you're involved in the arts and culture SHSM, that probably means you're either grade 10, 11, or 12, which is just about the time when these kinds of decisions get real. And also probably about the time where your creative impulses are starting to sort of take on voice and take on sort of authenticity and gravity in your life. So if that's you, welcome aboard. And if it's not, maybe it will be one day. So anyways, we're very glad you're here. And I would like to introduce to you a dear friend of mine, a poet, a songwriter, an entertainer, a kids entertainer, and an adult entertainer, an educator, a professor, for God's sakes, and a phrase that he has shared with me that I think fits him nicely is a designated oddball to his neighbors. And that's a compliment, by the way. So say hi to the good people, Dr. Gary Rasberry.
Greetings, Professor Bowers, and
All right.
Greetings, everyone. Yeah, welcome to our show.
Yeah, welcome to the show. That's quite a CV there. Like Gary has many sticks and many fires and many. Are you still hearing me? It all of a sudden got a little quiet on my end, but you're still.
Everything's good. Everything's good
Yeah.
here.
Okay. Good. And Gary and I have known each other. My goodness, for how long?
It's actually, I was thinking about it. I think it's bumping up to 30.
Oh man!
Because I believe that it was 1992 or 93 that I met you in Vancouver.
In Vancouver, yeah.
Yeah, and it's 20. According to my calculations, it's 2021. So that
And he's a calendar mathematician as well, on top of all that other stuff.
Yeah. I don't want to brag.
One thing that Gary and I often talk about in our endless 30-year conversation is about creativity and process. I would say he's a master of process, the master of meta, sort of thinking about being a creative, and sort of folding his life upon itself as a writer and a poet and a singer and as a songwriter, and trying to sort of piece it all together and put it out in the world and make interesting things happen and build community. And my goodness, I would say he's been extraordinarily successful in these domains. So I thought it would be a worthy hour and a bit to see what we can build together in a conversation around those themes.
Count me in.
All right.
Count me in.
Let's talk about this designated oddball moniker that you've branded yourself with, and what that might have to do with being a creative and trying to sort of steer a life in the arts.
Well, I should start by saying that expression, the designated oddball, is Al Purdy's, and Al Purdy, who was a beloved Canadian poet, and his persona was one of being a very rough, curmudgeonly poet who, rode the rails, and he was a poet who was accepted by, scholars and the literati, but he was not of that ilk. At parties you would not find him. He would be, smoking outside, with probably a flask or something. So Al Purdy has a poem that shaped me greatly, and the poem is called "The Freezing Music." And in that poem, Al Purdy is he lived in our area. He lived in Ameliasburg in the county, and so he lived rurally, I believe. And so in this poem, it's a narrative poem. He is in the backyard. It's nighttime, and it's probably kind of late fall, and it's night, and he's out there on his hands and knees in the dark, peering into the water, and he is trying to find the exact moment when water becomes ice, and that's the freezing music, right? So he basically says, in a very kind of self-reflexive moment, he sees himself there on his hands and knees with his wife at the kitchen sink, doing the dishes. And he says, and there I am on my hands and knees in the dark, peering into the darkness, the designated oddball to my neighbors. So when I read that, it was the designated word that struck me, because, no one really wants to be an oddball. Some may, you could be a caricature, you could be a, class clown, or you could be the life of a party. You can be quirky. Nobody wants to be a cookie cutter or uniform. We all want to be unique. But the idea of the oddball, I don't think that I embrace truly the oddball, because I do really like to fit in. And I spent a lot of my life trying to fit in and not knowing how to do that. So it caused me lots of uncertainty and angst. And, it's been a lifelong struggle to recognize my gifts and know what to do with them. And I've not wanted to be an oddball. I've wanted to fit in. But when Al Purdy said he was the designated oddball, that's what clicked for me, because I would like to be designated. I'd like to have some kind of handle, right? And I would say that it's not just, I'm not declaring that I am the designated oddball. I think that the artist or the creative has to risk being a designated oddball. But I think the designate is important, because not all of us can have the gravity it takes to really be an outlier and live by that. It's hard to cut your own path and make your way. And many people do it, many men and women. It's awesome, but it's not easy being an oddball. So if you're designated, if you have that good fortune, then you get to find yourself in situations where, like, I have created myself as a designate. I want to fit in, but I don't want to fit in certain ways. So I'm a teacher. I became a teacher. I went to did a Bachelor of Education many years ago, and then it seemed like, oh, I guess I better be a classroom teacher. But instead, I drove out west across the country, and my first full-time job was working at a outdoor school, environmental center, where kids were coming to our place, 24/7, and I was, living there with children. So that felt good, because I didn't belong in the classroom. And then, as I continued on, still people said, well, why aren't you a classroom teacher? And the school was not my place. And I felt like an oddball there and didn't really want to fit in. So then as I, continued to craft my identity and realized that, really I am an artist, but I'm also an educator. But as I'm trying to sort this out as a younger person, when I went into the school as an artist, it all fell into place. I love children. I love teaching. I love learning. I love education. And I don't belong in the classroom as a designated teacher. I belong in the classroom coming in as a designated oddball. Like, I come into these classrooms, these children, they don't see me coming. Like, I walk into a kindergarten room and there's like 30 kids staring at me, and I got a blue guitar. And they're like, wow, like, what's happening? And you come in, I come in, it's like, yeah, I'm born to do this. Like, I've got 10,000 hours of campfire experience with children. And so kids, if you're not good at what you do, they give you the heave ho. like, playing for kindergarten children is kind of like playing in a bar. Um, they, boo, get off the stage
Yeah, yeah,
if you're no good, right? And it's not like they're cruel, but unless you come in
yeah.
and go, okay, everybody, and the first
Yeah,
song is
take
like,
it.
here we go. And, you don't have to worry about behavior. Sure, some kids are like being goofy and some are being disrespectful. But if you're into it, they know it. And so that's where the designated oddball part
Yeah,
comes in.
yeah,
Is I found that I belonged, but I had to kind of set my own terms, and it just took me a long time to
yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
No, I find that a really interesting and sort of common theme, right? Where it's like our culture's really good at sort of having definitions for careers and jobs, and like you were saying, like you had a sense of self that was like, I'm not supposed to be in the classroom, or perhaps you were hoping you were supposed to be in the classroom, but it wasn't the fit that you. So there's this way that creatives can kind of like tag on a little bit to the institutional, values that are out there, like the ways that normal world works, and you can
Right.
sort of like take a bit there, take a bit there, and have all these different sticks in the fire for building a career. But it's hard to peg down, right? There's all of these pieces happening. I know that's true in your career. Like you've got a million things on the go, to sort of sustain a life and to sustain this space. Um, Working with kids, you work at the university, you play gigs, you write poetry, um, and do you find that sort of like diversity of uh, sort of like the number of things you have to do to pack in, to call it, to make a career, um, stressful or satisfying, or some kind of combination of those
Uh,
things?
a, yeah, a combination right now, very satisfying. At earlier stages, very insecure. And I think that what I would want to stress to the people that are going to be tuning into this show, as you mentioned, who are high school students or young people who are trying to, forge who they are, um, I think we don't get a lot of help in schools in particular. I think you do a good job in your courses, and there are many teachers that do, but we don't really get to know how careers, what they look like. We see them afterward. We see,
Right.
oh, there's a successful artist. She must have been successful all along. We don't get to see how the artist makes up her life, and we don't get to see how the engineer makes up her life. Like we just see things after, and we
Right.
project upon them as though there must be a path, and we
Right.
can just take that. And so as I will say again, I have struggled mightily through my life because, for whatever reasons, I think, I was a very sensitive, insecure person growing up and really wanted to fit in. I moved a lot as a child, uh, between sort of grade 6 and grade 13. I was at one, two, three, four, five different schools, between grade 6 and grade 13. And so I just wanted to fit in. And I also wanted to get approval, from my teachers, my parents. And so I was always doing, I didn't know what to do with this other gift of mine. So I did go the designated route. I got an undergraduate degree. I got a B.Ed. I went and worked. Then I got restless again. Started to actually,
Mhm.
so I went back and did a master's, which gave me time to think and create. And I became, really a full-time writer at that point. Um, Still had not embraced fully my artist self. And the more I discovered that, I didn't know this at the time, but my inability to do that, to really embrace my gifts, and accept them, it made me sick. I actually
Hmm.
got my mental health deteriorated very, very, to a very profound point. And so, yeah, the quick answer to your question is now I feel awesome at somehow I feel blessed, and I try to feel, gratitude every day for the fact that right now I've got all my ducks in a row. Like I kind of know who I am, and I know that I get to do all these disparate things, and they all feel like one. And I've worked really hard not to be, oh, I'm an artist over here, and oh, now I'm a teacher. Like I work at Queen's, and I get to work with teachers, right? They're all getting a master's in education, and I'm working with them, and they're living all over the world. And I'm a professor, and I make sure I don't want to be with them and feel like a phony. Like I'm a professor, so try to please me. I say to
Right.
them, I explicitly say, basically, I'm a designated oddball. In my the first thing they see about me is they see my bio for Queens, and instead of going, and then he studied at UBC and got his doctorate in, no, it's like my favorite font is Garamond, and I love dark chocolate and espresso, and I would always say that uh, genius doesn't have it on decaf, right? So, and then I say, yeah, I met Fred Penner, got nominated for a Juno, and I'm your professor. And I'd rather be a gate opener than a gatekeeper. Like, please don't try to please me. So my process was trying to embrace all of me and not be
Hmm.
just phony over here. I got to be an academic. Now I'm going to go over here. No, you can't do that. Or I can't do that. And I don't want to do that. So I feel very comfortable now and
Yeah.
thankful that I can be, on stage with you, rocking out to Neil Young, and then go over and be play professor at the same time, and embrace all that.
Yeah. Nicely said. We've talked, and you mentioned the word gift earlier, like having this a gift, and as a creative, as an artist, and I'm assuming that that there'll be people in this audience here, young people who are driven by some kind of gift. Who knows how developed it is, or what it feels like, in the subjective matter of their brains, um, but there's this desire to create, and there's this headspace that they can enter that's unique and subjective as they're painting or dancing or making music, or
Yeah,
who knows what the gift might be. And you mentioned actually the other day that these gifts, we have this way of thinking of a gift as just like a positive. It's like a present, like yippee, it's Christmas morning, I'm so lucky I have a gift. But you said something I thought that was interesting yesterday, which was, well, yeah, these are multifaceted things, and they can be really difficult, and you mentioned some mental health issues that sort of on some level were your negotiations with this gift, because you didn't quite know how to open it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's an
yeah,
interesting thing to think about, because I'm sure that's what it feels like, to young people too, right? It's like, I got this thing I love doing. How does it fit into my life? Maybe my parents want me to go to university or college or something else, and I really just want to, work on my hip hop rhymes or whatever. And so yeah, the gift as a challenge as opposed to a present.
yeah. I think the gift is a wonderful word, because I think in schools, well, we have gifted classes, right? And so, and I think that if the gift, if you speak of it in those terms of being gifted, it sounds like you're kind of actually bragging, like I'm gifted, but in fact, a gift is an exchange, right? A gift, if you look at it in a more sort of even spiritual way, a gift, the gift is something that just keeps moving, right? And it's moving through us, and it's not us. So it's not. So there's a lot of humility in having a gift. And I spent a lifetime stumbling over my gifts. I knew I had them. I just didn't know what I was supposed to do. And I think my message now, when I get to speak to young people, is that, yeah, no one tells you about that part. We only see the documentaries in the success stories, and the success story is, yeah, that person was gifted. He became, famous
Right.
artist. She became a famous painter. No one tells you that, it's the gift comes with some dark edges too. Like maybe you just feel really deeply, and it's not a way of making yourself special. I have a gift, and so that's an excuse to have. I'm really sensitive, and I have mental health problems. I just think the gift, yeah, it can take you down. Like it's not. It really is something that it's, you know, you just have to develop a relationship with this thing. And for me, it's come over a very long process where I feel quite a lot of humility and gratitude now in being able to say thank you, because, you know, artists say, oh, I don't know how I wrote that song. You know, we talk about the muse and the muses, but really, I do think that, you know, we can't be responsible for, like, I write songs, I look at them now and go, who wrote that? So I'm not saying it's some magic happened. I think that, yeah, the gift, you know, flows through you if you can make yourself spacious enough and learn to know what to do when it arrives. Like, okay, I think it's time to get the canvas out. Oh, I've got to write a poem. Oh, I've got to do this, right? As opposed to, oh my, like, just getting some feeling in you that doesn't feel comfortable, and you're supposed to be doing your calculus homework. So you're like, and then you know, so it's sort of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a mutual hero, Gary and I, Neil Young, and we actually play his music together. I don't know how much you young folkers know Neil Young, but he's one of the great Canadian songwriters, and he talks about the muse a fair bit. And there's one story that I love from him, which is he sort of made a deal with his inspiration and his creative impulses, and you know, whenever they arrive, I pay attention. I stop whatever I'm doing and I write it down, because I owe it that much, because it's precious and I feel grateful for it. And so if an inspiration is going to hit my consciousness, I must stop. And he told a story of sitting at the Thanksgiving table with his family, you know, his beautiful spread, his kids are there, his wife is there, maybe his parents are there, you know, it's everybody's there, and it's like 2:30 and they're sitting down to turkey or whatever. And a melody came to his brain, and he just sort of stood up and said, "Excuse me, family, I have to go," and left the Thanksgiving table to write a song on his guitar, and probably in the, you know, upstairs somewhere privately, because he had made a pact with it. It was like, this damn thing is so precious that I cannot take it for granted. I thought that was kind of a cool this idea of gratitude. And actually, it's funny you mentioned that. At LCVI at our school, we have our motto is grit, growth, and gratitude. Right. And I quite like that. And the last one, gratitude, is one that flummoxes people more. Like grit, we sort of understand, you got to work hard, and growth, yeah, we're learning, we're you know, but gratitude, it sometimes hits people and like, like, gratitude, how does that fit? Yeah. And I think that's one angle in which it fits. Is like, if you have a gift, it's kind of your job to be thankful and put it out there, your gratefulness for what you're given, and for what's around you, and for your community. And yeah, I thought it was a kind of a sweet
the gratitude's a big piece. It's a lifelong journey. But the Neil Young example, even that example is like, okay, Neil Young is famous, so when we hear that story, we go, oh, of course he's going to get up and, you know, leave the table because he's Neil Young. But if you're like in grade 12 and it's a Thanksgiving dinner and you get up, it's like, get back here, like, you know. So we don't know that we have, like, we don't know what is expected of us. We don't know what the gift is asking sometimes. And if you don't pay attention, the more you don't pay attention, you know, they say that, you know, you're always being presented with a lesson, a life lesson of some sort. And if you don't learn the lesson, you just keeps getting repeated until you kind of get it. And that could take, you know, a lifetime. But, you know, the point being that, if you don't get the lesson, just it comes at you in another guise. And eventually, you know, so I had to kind of literally fall down, like, and, you know, get, you know, that fell down and had to, you know, couldn't function anymore because I was just not, you know, had really just been got myself too, you know, scared. I thought I can't make a living. I just don't know how to, you know, pay my mortgage, pay my rent, do all these things by being an artist. And so, it just, that part is the process. The more that, you know, the more you can actually be grateful for, it isn't just gratitude isn't a platitude, it's an attitude, right? You know, it's just like, the more you can really say thank you and mean it. Like, I go walking outside these days, I look around and I'm like, thank you, like, and mean it. And just, I say, I want to try and be open, and the more you're open and say, I'm ready, like, let me be of service somehow to the muse or to whoever, to people. And, you know, I think it just keeps moving through you. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Um, let's maybe hear some of
Yeah.
your creatives.
I
This
thought you'd
is
never ask.
yeah, buddy. Um, how about a poem to start, and then perhaps some music.
Yes. Well, yeah. So I've got, here's the show and tell part. This was my first book of poems. It's called As Though It Could Be Otherwise. And my second book of poems was called More Naked Than Ever. And I'm going to read from that. My third book of poems was called Some Days Just Noticing. And my fourth is actually, it's called Polishing Stone, the Collected Lyrics. And this was a project that I did, which was, it was called 60 Songs at 60. So when I turned 60, I wanted just to publish 60 songs. So that's this. And Polishing Stone is the album that just came out. Today it really got officially launched. It's the first section of the book, and then it goes back through my catalog. And this book, which is for the obscure folks, this is called Through a Poet's Eye. This was my doctoral dissertation that was published as a book in New York. It's called Researching Writing Through a Poet's Eye. And the poet's eye is not an eye. It is, but it's also it's the pronoun I. So I'm going to read you a poem called Through a Poet's Eye.
Oh, nice.
Which opens this More Naked Than Ever collection. And it is sort of a visual poem because if you're reading the poem on the page, you can tell which I I'm talking about, whether I'm talking about the I, the pronoun, or the I. So you can just, people can just, figure out which one they'd like it to be. Through a Poet's Eye. I seem to have a poet's eye, not for any particular rhyme or reason. Maybe it's just because I've always been, will always be, unfinished. Uncomfortable in happiness, incomplete in unhappiness. Confident in introspection, one eye down the road, one eye out for beauty, always and ever.
As you can hear a lot of the themes that we've just been talking about in there.
I'm afraid so.
Very nice.
So, and I've got a song that I would like to play for everyone. This is a new song that I've been working on, and it's actually called A Path to Travel. And the line that came to me was, you don't have to be on the path less traveled. You don't have to be on the path at all. And so sometimes songs are like, they're puzzles or koans, Koan. They puzzle you and you don't know what they're trying to tell you. And so I started thinking about it, and then I started writing more lyrics, but I was confused. Is it supposed to be, first of all, I thought my idea was, you don't have to be on the path less traveled. In other words, there's, for artists, we've established that we don't want to be cookie cutters. We don't want to be on the main path. But then there's this push to be on, you don't want to be the groovy one on the path less traveled, right? You want to take the path that, no one else takes, and it's, you're groovy. But I thought the more cliche would be, you don't have to be on the path well traveled. You don't have to be on the path at all. So I ended up basically puzzling that for a long, long time. And of course, I just wrote, the first verse is, it's you don't have to be on the path less traveled, and then by the end, end up saying you don't have to be on the path well traveled, and then but the punchline is you don't have to be on the path at all. And the idea of the path, there was two ideas that I wanted to get across in terms of how it relates to our conversation. One is that the path. The path, there's a concept where you lay down the path while walking. Like, there isn't a path until you just lay it down.
Right.
So if it's songwriting of the path is like, you get one line, then you put that there. that lets you get the second line. And so you lay down this path. And the other is a Zen saying, the path can't be taught, it can only be taken, right? So I had those two concepts, these kind of very, metaphysical ideas of the path, and it came out as a song. And here it is, A Path to Travel. Here we go. Well, you don't have to be on the path less traveled. Well, you don't have to be on the path at all. Well, sometimes the straightest path unravels. Sometimes. And you don't have to see to know where you're going. Well, you just have to feel to know when it's right. And sometimes the heart has its own way of knowing. Sometimes. Well, it's a path with the poet's eye and a songwriter's ear. Well, it's a path full of songs that the heart needs to hear. It's a path with a painter's soul and a carpenter's plan. Well, something we can feel and maybe understand. You can climb a tree and see the entire planet. See the whole wide world from your own backyard. But the whole thing falls apart if you try to understand it. The whole thing slips away if you try too hard. So try not to try so hard. Time for a bridge. Well, the path, you lay it down while walking the path. Well, the path, you just keep walking and walking. Well, walking and walking, walking and walking. And the path is a dream we can be fully awakened, fully awakened. Yeah, the path is a dream, but the path can't be taught, it can only be taken. So you don't have to be on the path well traveled. Nope, you don't have to be on the path at all. See the forest for the trees, all sunlight and dappled. Beauty for a planet so small. It's a path to travel, that's all. It's a path to travel, that's all. It's just a path, and that's all.
Woohoo! Is that a new one?
Yeah, brand new.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I thought I would just, as a kind of a non sequitur, just play a little snippet of a children's song.
Yeah.
Because people, this new album, Polishing Stone, everyone asks, is it a children's album? And, I don't know how to answer that because I know it's an adult album. Like, it's just, I say my answer is it's not for children, right? The songs I write are, I don't go, oh, I'm going to write a children's song now. I mean, I could, because being writing for children is awesome because you don't get pegged into any holes. You can write whatever you want, like whatever form it takes, you just make it up. And I use that same principle when I write a path. Like, I just know, there aren't any rules. I don't worry about whether I'm writing the verse or the chorus or the bridge. I just go where that energy is, and then it tells me what to do. So this is a song, one of my greatest hits. It's called At the Drive-Thru.
Oh, yeah.
And,
classic.
It is a classic in its own time, in my own mind. I wrote this song on the way to visit Dave Clark in Toronto. I was about to make a new children's album called The Very Next Day, and I had the privilege of working with Dave Clark in the Woodshed Orchestra in Toronto, and I was getting on the bus. So I like to travel by bus or train so that I can write and work and not drive and be on the 401 and risk my life. So I was on a bus that day, and I was leaving Kingston, driving out Division. I look over and I see this restaurant, a fast food restaurant, and there's so many cars lined up at the fast food restaurant that they're snaked around the building, right? So I'm like, wow, that is just so strange that we're doing that as a culture, human beings. It's February, they're sucking each other's exhaust, they're bumper to bumper, and they're all the way around this restaurant. And I won't name the name of the restaurant here, Tim Hortons. And so I think, okay, that's when my songwriting radar goes up. Gary Rasberry, that's a song. What's going on there? So I wrote the song, and I had it done by the time I hit Toronto to meet with Dave.
Oh, that's fun.
I shared it with him. He gave me a couple ideas here and there, and then he arranged it for a 9-piece band. So it's our co-write, Dave and I. So this is called At the Drive-Thru, and I'll just give you the first. It's got, it's a story song, and part of it's true, the part I just told you, and part of it's made up because I think, okay, a family's going to go to the drive-thru. They're going to get in their minivan, and when they get there, they're going to be in a long lineup. Everyone's going to start to get really impatient, and there's going to be family fights, and the dog is going to cause ruckus, and in the end, it's going to really all fall apart. But so I'll give you. There's 12. There are 12 cars in line, so I won't take you through it. I'll take you to the first two. So here we go. This is called At the Drive-Thru. I'm in the backseat with my sister at the drive-thru, at the drive-thru, at the drive-thru, with my mom, my dad, my brother, and the dog too. And the lineup, it's 12 cars long. Well, I'm hoping for some French fries at the drive-thru, at the drive-thru. The kids sing, at the drive-thru. A burger, hot chocolate, maybe ice cream too. And the lineup is 11 cars long. And this could be a bad day if Bowers doesn't get his latte. Well, it makes it feel just like a Monday, but it's Saturday afternoon. I don't mean to be complaining at the drive-thru, at the drive-thru, at the drive-thru. But this whole thing feels insane here at the drive-thru, and the lineup, it's 10 cars long. And sometimes I wonder why no one's inside. Why? There's empty tables, empty chairs, looks clean and cozy, but no one's in there. Ask the kids why. Because everybody's lined up at the drive-thru. That's why. At the drive-thru, at the drive-thru. Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Well, how about you? And the lineup, it's 8 cars long, and on it goes. And the dog, their dog Jasper, who the kids wanted to bring, the parents didn't want to bring, they didn't want to fight, so they let the dog come. It's like, our dog is getting restless at the drive-thru, at the drive-thru, at the drive-thru. Well, he's chewing on the armrest and the seatbelt too. And the lineup, it's 7 cars long. Last time he ate 2 dozen donuts and some chili too, right? You know what's going to happen at the end. A little foreshadowing. It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah. That's a classic. I love it.
So
I didn't know the story of the writing of that it happened on the way to the place where you're going to record it for the album.
Because I did a Zoom concert last week for a grade 4 class in Saskatchewan, and the kids had prepared some really nice questions for me, really thoughtful questions, and you know, they had a nice system in their classroom. I was on the big screen, you know, and I had a camera so I could see them. And then at the end of the concert, each kind of student came up the aisle and stood in front of the camera and said, you know, what advice would you have for a young musician? And, or, you know, how long does it take to write a song? So I give that example. Well, you know, I wrote The Drive-Through in 3 hours, the time it took to get from Kingston to Toronto. And I wrote, you know, some other songs I started in 2005 and finished it last week. So that's how long it takes.
Yeah. Anywhere between 15 years and 3 hours.
Right. Yeah. Some assembly required.
So that was sweet. We got sort of three facades of Gary there. We got the poet, and then the adult entertainer, and then the
adult entertainer sounds a bit like
yeah.
There's an X-rated. My eyes are pixelated, right?
Well, you got a diverse set of skills there, Gary Rasberry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, with our audience in mind here, and I was sort of thinking about how do you get that creativity that you have and that gift that you wrestle with out into the world. You mentioned the word branding the other day, or maybe I did, I'm not sure, but the concept of how do you get yourself out there? What do you do to sort of make real all those efforts, you know, and
right.
meet an audience and you know, build community and build fandom and you mentioned that you had a website and
right.
and it might be kind of cool to poke around there and maybe just talk about this branding exercise because I know you, and I know that you have several personas that you
right.
Sort of tailored for the various parts of your career. I think that might be neat for people to see and sort of negotiate a little bit with you.
Sure. Well, I think to start branding, if you think about that word, you know, I worked on a ranch in Alberta in the 80s, and we had a calf branding on this ranch, right? Where, you know, like there was a guy on a horse who, you know, roped the calf, took it down. We ran and held this calf down. They branded it, right? Jesus. So that hurts, you know. So branding is not all fun and games. I just want to say that. So I'll share my screen with you, and you've got to let me because it.
Oh, says, I got to. Yeah, right on.
Yeah, because you've got to disable participant screen sharing.
I'm going to advanced sharing options right now.
Go. Okay, think
multiple participants simultaneously, something like that.
Oh, here we go.
Does that work?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
We can do it. We have the
all right.
technology.
We something. Bunch of old guys.
I know it's
okay. Showing up the kids here with their Zoom skills.
Allow the apps below to record the content. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Gosh, so I have a brand new computer, and it's. I guess I'll do that, and that, and.
Oh, don't do that.
No.
I was just kidding.
Okay,
I have no idea what you're doing.
Nervous. Okay. So let's try that again and see if I can share my screen. It says security, privacy.
Go back to my sharing options, make sure I've done this multiple. It looks like you should be able to share from my angle.
Yeah, yep. So it's asking me to allow Zoom to, but it's not letting me check that off for some reason. Let's just try this. 1 sec. Please don't. Your call's important to us.
I do have some other options. Oh, you got it going on?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so Kevy, I have to leave the meeting for 1 second. because it makes me leave before I have to quit before I can come back. Is that okay?
Do what you got to do.
Okay.
Oh, well, my good people, Gary Rasberry, be back shortly. Um, yeah, he's got um, a bunch of personas. One of them, I don't know how much he's doing this one anymore, but he was Dr. Razzmatazz, I think, for a while, and was working. Oh, I'm inviting him back in. Um, and he was the big idea guy. Oh, he's just sort of created all these sort of like personas for himself. And we'll see how that. There we go. I was just telling him about Dr. Razzmatazz and the big idea headquarters and all that.
Okay, so let's try this again
Okay.
and see. Okay, so I want to share my whole darn desktop with you.
Oh, things are looking good.
Okay, awesome. Alrighty, so I'm going to take us to Branding Central.
Nice.
And I just want to say that if for people who are trying to brand yourself, trying to kind of let people know who you are and what it is you want them to know that you do, that process, one way to think about it is less about, it's not just words so that people can find you. That's part of it. Like you need, hashtags so that people know where to find you. But it's also a process of you finding out who you are. So, and it has to happen pretty much on a, if not a daily basis, certainly on a regular basis as a creative. You need to keep finding out, is this still who I am? Who do I want to connect with now? So this website was just redone. I had it done. It took almost 4 months for a woman in Toronto who helped me, and in having me do that, I rebranded myself. So my last website, I was, it was like Gary Rasberry, children's performer. I said, I was a musician, artist, educator, an imagination consultant, small animal with fast metabolism. Like I sort of branded myself that way. And this one was words and music. That's kind of what it comes down to. So if you go to my about page, basically I have four things that I am, and I got a visual icon for each one. So what's the big idea? This is me as a children's entertainer, and everything to do with my children's work is there. Flying solo is what I do, what I would call, my adult, my singer-songwriter persona. This guy here is an imagination consultant. This is all the work I do in schools. And this is through a poet's eye, and this is my poetry and publishing. So if we were just to, so that looks really simple and straightforward, but it's taken kind of a lifetime to go, okay, these are the four things that I am. They're disparate things, but I'm all of them at the same time. But if you just met Gary Rasberry and you met him because he was at your school, then and you want to know more, you open up this one. So when you click on what's the big idea, you can get up my bio for what I am as a Juno nominated children's artist. And my motto, I leave a trail of happy children, smiling parents as I go. I'm a Via Rail artist. I travel the country, get off, play at schools, do concerts. This is me on the train. Here's a video gallery. This is the drive-through video with Jan and Claire, a split screen. Here's some videos of children's songs. Here's all the many awards I've won.
Attaboy.
Yeah, and here's my children's albums, so you can buy them. So that's that. That's the mouse. So that mouse with the light bulb, created by Wallace Edwards, Governor General Award-winning children's illustrator. That's my brand. I would like that mouse with light bulb. If you don't even have to, I wouldn't have to say what's the big idea anymore. You just see the mouse with light bulb and you go, Gary Rasberry. That's what a brand should do.
Right.
Flying solo. If you're interested in that, you'd like to hire me for something like that. We'll go in there. I call it flying solo. and then I kind of say that it's a catchy tagline, but it's actually a flying solo means you work with a cast of countless others who are an incredible group of supporting artists and musicians who help lift my songs from the kitchen table into the world. But I'm a singer-songwriter. I bang away on a guitar. I find myself alone at the mic a lot. And here's Polishing Stone is my latest video. Here's a promo of the Polishing Stone with my friend Lauren. Here's other videos I've made. This is with Tayar, Black Letter Stammer. Here's the Painted Yellow. So that's there, and then you can buy me there. So here's the new album. Here's Curving for Coast, my first solo record, and this is Fireweed. Oops. And I got merch. There's the T-shirt. There's that kind of stuff. There's my books. So that's the Flying Solo.
So the books are in the Flying Solo as well.
Yeah, because you kind of. I think I went into the store just by accident, or maybe it was Freudian. I'm wanting people to, just because I'm all about the commerce, right?
That's right.
So there's the big idea. There's Flying Solo, Imagination Consultant. I'm kind of proud of this one because I came up with this. Not that Heidi Mack drew this.
Oh, neat.
But the Imagination Consultant. That's kind of who I am. I'm an Imagination Consultant. So I've been working as an artist and educator for over 3 decades. I've had artist in residencies internationally, nationally, locally. I'm also a professor at Queen's. I've got this PhD that kids don't care about. And then the other part of my brand is my whole life could be song, story, and sound. Those 3 S's are me, and I've described how. Here's my plans for future. A Sounds Like series, a podcast, Sounds Like Family, Sounds Like Classrooms, and so that's that. And then the last one, so I'm a children's performer, an entertainer, solo artist, imagination consultant, and then Through a Poet's Eye. So this one is the way I see the world. Through a Poet's Eye as a way of seeing, but also a way of being that will always lead to poetry and to the making of poems. So, and then I've got 3 songs here, poems you can listen to. I've just made audio recordings of them, and then there's 3 poems I've read from More Naked Than Ever, and there's Through a Poet's Eye, and then Some Days Just Noticing. I've read 2 entries here, and then Polishing Stone, the collected lyrics. I want to just point out here, by way of bragging to you at least, that I entered some songs in the International Songwriting Competition, this ISC, which is kind of a big deal. And this Next Best Thing, lyrics, it made it semi-finalist in the lyrics only category, and the drive-through made the semi-finals as well. And then you can shop the full bibliography. And I did the show and tell already. Some Days, More Naked, Polishing Stone, and for some reason, as though it could be otherwise, isn't on there. I'll have to fire the there it is. Yeah. So shop now.
Oh, she just got her job back. Good.
Yep, she's back again. So that's it. That's how I branded myself. And if I go back to the kind of the words and music, I chose not to have an image of myself there. I just wanted my guitar and a stool. So that's the about. You can go to the store, you can contact me. I've got now a way that if you do contact me, you can join a mailing list, and I can let you know about stuff. All my links are there. So if you want to Spotify me, if you want to Apple Music me, I'm there. So yeah, it's all.
That's great.
So I have this place, a location that lets people find out who I am.
It's such a. I like how you've done this. I mean, it's very elegant, and you can see the craft in getting to know self in this, right? Like this is, as you said, it took you a long time to sort of figure this out, and you're a moving target, right? As a creative, like new facets of self keep popping up, and
Right.
different levels of importance to you at any given time in your life. And so trying to sort of like sculpt a moving target in a website format, it's kind of cool.
Well, they say, you know, you're only as good as your last album, which I don't really like that expression. There's a lot of truth to it. I think maybe I don't like you could take the word long out to make it a little less hard hitting. Like, you know, not you take out the only. You're only, you know, you're as good as the stuff you're doing right now. And the challenge is that it's always changing. And so it's not just my point about branding is that you don't just brand yourself in that way that we think of, you know, with a really bad stereotype would be a cigar chomping man, and it would be a man going, okay, you know, let's make sure that we get this branding done so people can, you know, we can monetize this thing. The branding is really as much about your own personal journey and figuring out how to document that. It really matters to you, so that becomes meaningful, and then you're satisfied. You're like, wow, that feels this is no different for me than writing a song. When I write a song, and if I feel like I'm getting close to it, then I feel like, oh, I've actually expressed what I was hoping. And that's what I feel like with this. And I should say that Taylor Mitchell designed this website, and she is awesome.
Neat.
So, and she was from Spark. She was a graduate of Queen's in film and media studies, and then she did the program at St. Lawrence, and she was in the Spark group, which is a multimedia group at St. Lawrence that do like website design, social media, branding, all that stuff. She's a graduate of that. That's how I met her.
Neat. No, it's a really nice job, and I like the art of packaging art. You know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The idea is to try and make it look easy, right?
Right. No, and it has that when I like the word elegance because that's, you know, it's this idea of like making something very complex seem easy and not complicated,
Right.
where it underlies the actual complication in it, but makes it easy to digest and satisfying.
Well, one thing I would suggest to people who are starting out and doing stuff is that you don't have to try to nail it all at once. Like you are a work in progress, but you have to document that. And Stephen Fearing, who's a Canadian singer-songwriter and has been on the circuit for a long time, and I respect him very much, he once told me, you know, however hard you're working now, you probably just need to work harder, which, you know, doesn't sound encouraging, but it is kind of one version of the truth. And if you are documenting your process, then like a thing like Google Drive is a great tool for you because you have a location to put your stuff. So that I've shared my Google Drive with you, and you know, you get a folder, and then it's there, and it's on whatever rig you open it up on. So if for mine, there's stuff to do with Bandcamp. Here's my bios and CVs, and if I open that folder, just to give you an idea, that's
Wow.
that's how many bios I have. So it's not like you get one bio and go, oh, I've got a bio. It's like you do one for every gig. Like a school says, so, you know, the city of Kingston hires me and they want a bio, I do one for that event. So so then I've got CD Baby, who's my digital people that put me on Spotify. I've got my website blurbs. This is the City of Kingston Arts Council projects I have with them. My work with the Elm Coffee House. This is the Folk Music Ontario Awards and Showcases. Genius Doesn't Happen on Decaf. It's a podcast I'm working on.
I didn't know about that. That's exciting.
Yeah, and I just applied for a Grand Theatre residency, so that's my proposal. There are some projects. They're secret. I can't show you those. Here's my promo shots. Again, you got to keep getting promo shots that you think are a reflection of who you are. Invoices.
Wow, look at
Kids
this
Songs Ideas, Kingston Arts Council, Lauren Videos. This is an album of mine, a new one called Left to Our Own Devices. This is the Limestone Board, the Artists in Residence proposal I just did. This is my master song list and plans for 2021. So if I open that, here's all the songs, lyrics, and here's the...
Wow.
So if I go to the master list, this will cost people $5 just to see this. So you can press donate now. Here's my master song list. I updated here. So this one last entry was April 4th, April 14th, 2021. I've got 4 new albums. Left to Our Own Devices is an old-timey album for Tayar and Jason. Smaller Part of a Bigger Plan is with Jan LeClaire, piano songs. Sticks and Stones with Kevin Bowers.
Woohoo! I just said yes to that the other day.
The Next Best Thing is an album with Rob Unger from Fireweed, and I've got a song I want to write with Steve Heighton, and I've got a Song 4 series. I wrote a song for Nora Jones, I've got a song for Sarah Harmer, and I'd like to write a song for Neil and Bruce. So that's my master list. So
is this a way of organizing your own consciousness and sort of keeping you on track and making sort of a pledge to self, or is it for the world to share, or what?
No, it's for me to keep track of myself, and then when I because as I say, like if you look at some of these things, you know, this song was started in 2017, but I have it here in a list so I can find it, and you know, keeping track of your stuff is a kind of a big deal.
Totally.
And then when I do work on a song, I print it out, and I've got a file folder that, you know, that I can access it easily. So yeah, I won't go through it much more, but you know, there's my Queen stuff, this professional masters in education, poetry manuscripts, polishing stone lyrics, polishing stone video plans, promo stuff, Providence Care proposal, Razzletone Records, that's a record label I want to start, songwriting workshops, Taylor Mitchell website plans, project called Typewriter Lullaby, video archives, Very Next Day lyrics, What's the Big Idea, Wolf Island Records. I should say that, yeah, this record is coming out on Wolf Island Records, and that's exciting too. So that's my life on a Google Drive.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll stop sharing and stop talking.
Oh, wow, that was loud in my head. It's quite all right. Well, Gary, I think we may have hit a certain amount of time. We've been going at this
4 hours,
four and a half, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely wonderful. Yeah, you're an inspiring dude, my man.
Well, I want to say that, you know, with these folks, I wish that we, you know, it's not over yet. Like I would like to be in a room with the people that you work with, and I have in the past, right? I've been in your classroom, and
yes, you have.
I really believe in the people these young people that, like, I'm working with 2 of your students right now to make a film. You know, we had to pause because of the latest restrictions, but Kaylin, Dan.
Oh, good. You have, yeah, I know we set that up, and I didn't know how far it went.
We're making a video
for
that's
Polishing
fantastic.
Stone.
Yeah.
You guys have negotiated and all that stuff?
Oh, you know what? You know, again, I'm an opportunist. So when I saw you in the winter, we were down at the harbor skating. You said, yeah, I've got these film students that are making these awesome films. And you told me about, you know, the one said it should be a Tourism Kingston film. So I looked it up and went, wow, that's awesome. And I said to you, you know, if you've got some interested students, connect me. So like I'm a connector of dots, right?
Yeah.
And so when Kaylin, when I reached out to her, she was so organized, and you know, it's like she sent me a thing that said, you know, I said, you know, I need to arrange how to pay you, and she kind of gave me a whole thing. She said, you know, here's what we do these 8 things, and it costs this much. And her last line in the email was like, and you know, and we'll make a damn good film, you know. And I was like, okay, like I'm in.
Oh, that's great. That makes me proud.
So I do want to just encourage everybody to just keep rocking, you know. It's just because you know, your inner life, turning yourself inward, outward, and doing your thing is what it's all about. So I wish everybody super well.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Kevy.
Yeah, this was absolutely delightful. I look forward to the time when you can come in and do it en flesh.
Yeah.
But I think you did I think we did an admirable digital job.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm sending you the bill.
Yeah, I know you are. In fact, I will actually send you an invoice to make into your, just like a template, so you can turn it
Awesome.
back to me, and I'll get it to the
Beauty.
powers that be.
Beauty.
Because part of this artfulness, arts and culture, is about commerce too, right? It's
Yeah.
about making a life. So let's be
Yeah.
explicit. Like, yeah, we're, you know, Gary's a friend of mine, and I care about him deeply, and I care about his ability to make a life with what he's good at. So, you know, I figured out a way to get him a paycheck for helping young people out,
Yeah.
and the world is looking for that, right? The world wants uh, artful people to talk to young people. And you mentioned grants earlier, the Kingston Arts Council and the Canadian Council for Artists, or whatever they
Yeah.
all are. And I know
Yeah.
you're a master grant writer.
Yeah.
You got a reputation in these parts for that. And that's just I just thought I'd fold that into the end of this conversation, that, you know, the part of this is just about not being too, I don't know, shy or humble or whatever. It's like, what you do, you know, being a human who's actively engaged and creative is it's worthy. God
Yeah.
darn it. And
And
you can ask the universe to give back, and you know, to help pay rent, you know, like that's a totally legitimate,
sure.
not a strange question, not an awkward one. You know, Gary gets paid for spending 2 hours talking to Bowers about being an artful person. And look
It,
what he did. He prepared, he brought his guitar, he got his poems ready, he had his website, because he's a pro, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
he deserves to get recompensed.
But I think, you know, it still is awkward. Like, I think
Yeah.
your students will get asked, like, how much do you charge? And in that moment, a lot of things can happen. You can go, oh, I don't, you know, but, you know, for me, one of the answers is it depends. Like, I don't have a set fee. It's like, if I'm working for a group that doesn't have much money, I'll say, well, I'll do it for this. But if I think I'm going to work for someone that can, you know, pay me, but people are going to ask, they want you to put a number on that. But they don't ask plumbers to do benefits, right? They always ask
Yeah.
artists.
Yeah.
So,
No,
you know,
yeah, it's a fact. Eh?
yeah. So you got to,
Yeah.
you have to just say, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
again, Kaylin was so awesome. She quoted me a figure and she said, and I'm going to do a really great job. And so that, I really respect
That's
that.
neat.
And that's fantastic. So,
Well said. Fare thee well, my good man.
okay, Kevin.
We'll see you soon, brother.
Yeah. Live music is better. Bumper stickers should be issued.
It's an inside joke between the two of us. We'll leave it
Okay.
at that. Cheers, guys.